What would happen if the West insists on not recognizing Ibrahim Traoré as Burkina Faso's president? Ten countries have lately declared their recognition of Traoré as the country's rightful leader, despite the West's opposition to him. This shows how little the West's position matters to them. It doesn't matter if the West despises Traoré or not. No other country feels the same way. However, why is hatred for Traoré being pushed by the West? And when will this animosity end? Let's investigate. Burkina Faso was at the heart of a turning point in its diplomatic history on June 28, 2024. A ceremony that reverberated well beyond Ouagadougou's borders took place in the elaborate halls of the presidential palace. Envoys and dignitaries from 10 countries convened to formally acknowledge Ibrahim Traoré as the legitimate leader of the country. It was a statement that was significant not only symbolically, but also because it demonstrated Burkina Faso's tenacity in the face of enduring security threats and its growing influence in regional diplomacy. This dispute that we refer to as other than the violent, savage manifestation of imperialism, of neocolonialism, of the servitude that has been forced on us today. The event meant more to Traoré, a former military leader turned statesman, than just official recognition of his election win. It was an affirmation of solidarity and faith in Burkina Faso's future, which is paved with challenges from the outside world and internal conflict. The unwillingness of the Western countries to recognize Traoré's administration highlighted more profound geopolitical conflicts and African historical narratives of dominance. Yet, the decision of these 10 nations to stick by Traoré sent a clear statement. On the global scene, Burkina Faso's sovereignty and the democratic decisions made by its people deserve respect and acknowledgement. Both pundits and officials were speculating in the days before the ceremony. Would these countries support Traoré in spite of Western misgivings, going against the grain? That June afternoon's answer was clear-cut. As Traoré ascended the podium to address the assembly, representatives from nations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America stood shoulder to shoulder and applauded. The cheers that followed were as much in response to Traoré's remarks as they were to Burkina Faso's tenacity. After winning independence in 1960, the country has seen decades of political unrest, coups, and economic hardships. Every change in government, whether it came from military intervention or democratic elections, put Burkina Faso's stability and adaptability to the test. There was anticipation that a fresh chapter of stability and progress might be written now that Traoré was in charge. The attendance of international ambassadors from all parts of the world highlighted Burkina Faso's expanding diplomatic reach. The days when the country's internal problems and regional conflicts overshadowed its foreign relations are long gone. Burkina Faso is now exerting its position in the international arena and regaining its voice under Traoré's leadership. Human rights and election openness were the main reasons behind the Western countries' rejection to recognize Traoré. These issues had long been contentious in African politics. Critics contended that claims of voter intimidation and irregularities tainted Traoré's rise to power, reflecting larger worries about the region's democratic processes. However, the focus of the countries that supported Burkina Faso on that particular day was on upholding the country's constitutional procedures and democratic institutions. It demonstrates their commitment to upholding the Burkinabe people's will and assisting them in achieving stability and progress. How did the entire ceremony go? At the presidential palace, there was a mix of festivity and seriousness in the air. Ambassadors convened to present President Traoré, with letters of credence came from Germany, Russia, Algeria, Rwanda, and other countries. The occasion demonstrated Burkina Faso's dedication to organizing such gatherings with elegance and hospitality. It was a ceremony steeped in history and diplomatic procedure. But why does the West not accept Traoré as president? Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. The West's hesitancy to recognize Ibrahim Traoré as Burkina Faso's president is a complex matter with roots in political, historical, and geopolitical factors. The West is wary of Traoré because of his ascent to power, his management style, and his strategic relationships. A string of military takeovers, first against President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore in January 2022, and then against interim President Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba in September 2022, characterized Ibrahim Traoré's rise to the presidency. These coups upset the constitutional order in Burkina Faso, a factor that the West finds particularly alarming. Constitutional government and democratic processes are widely supported by Western nations as the rightful way of obtaining and distributing authority. For many Western governments, Traoré's legitimacy is called into question by the fact that his ascension was based on force rather than elections. But why is this such a big deal in the West? Only the West can provide an answer to that. Since attaining power, Traoré has demonstrated authoritarian inclinations. Reports of blocking foreign media and manipulating propaganda have emerged, portraying a picture of a leader consolidating authority and eliminating Western interference. The democratic ideals that the West upholds are incompatible with these authoritarian tendencies. Burkina Faso's democratic growth is perceived to have regressed with the suppression of dissent and the restriction of freedom of expression. This has further strained relations with Western allies, who consider these measures as dangers to democratic stability and human rights. Traoré rejected their desire to speak things that were incorrect. Geopolitical realignment is a major reason why the West is uncomfortable with Traoré's government. Traoré has made efforts to pull Burkina Faso away from established Western allies, particularly France, while strengthening connections with Russia. This change is typified by the withdrawal of French forces and the reopening of the Russian embassy. Traoré's decision to shift his focus towards Russia is further demonstrated by his attendance at the Russia-Africa Conference. The West finds this realignment troublesome, especially in light of the larger geopolitical conflict between Russia and the West. Traoré's alliance with Russia is seen by the West as a geopolitical danger that could jeopardize its long-standing political and economic goals in the region. Traoré's bold promises and populist rhetoric have also added to the mistrust in the West. He has promised to increase food production in Burkina Faso to a self-sufficient level, to construct a nuclear power plant and produce electric vehicles, both aspirational objectives that many in the West find doubtful. These assurances cause issues for the West, even though they appeal to Burkina Faso's nationalist and populist feelings. Western observers oppose Burkina Faso's independence. Traoré's connection with the West is further complicated by his anti-colonial rhetoric. He has urged African leaders to use their resources to further the prosperity of their continent, rather than giving in to pressure from former imperial nations. This position calls into question the long-standing economic and power interactions between African countries and Western powers. Traoré's demands for freedom from Western influence are in line with a larger African movement that aims to take back sovereignty and take charge of their own destiny. But as far as the West is concerned, its past and current dominance in the region is directly challenged by this anti-colonial perspective. However, 10 countries have welcomed Traoré, even though the West despises him. Despite its recent political unrest, Burkina Faso continues to be of great interest to many countries because of its rich mineral resources, long history of democratic governance, influence in the region, mending fences with neighbors, and active membership in international organizations. Burkina Faso is a desirable partner for countries looking to collaborate and invest in a stable West African state because of these qualities. A history of rather steady democratic governance exists in Burkina Faso. With assistance from US aid, The nation conducted its first free and open democratic elections in November 2015, and its first municipal elections in May 2016. Despite current difficulties, Burkina Faso's democratic heritage makes it a desirable partner for countries that place a high priority on advancing democratization and good governance in Africa. Nations with a stake in preserving democratic institutions and procedures include the United States and many European countries. Democratic administration is frequently viewed as the cornerstone of economic expansion, stability, and human rights, all of which are essential for global cooperation and sustainable development. Rich in mineral resources, Burkina Faso exports primarily gold, although it also has large reserves of manganese, zinc, phosphate, silver, and diamonds. The existence of these priceless resources offers significant financial prospects for international commerce and investment collaborations. Global mining corporations and investors have shown a great deal of interest in gold mining in particular. Countries and businesses vying for access to Burkina Faso's natural wealth are strongly attracted by the country's economic potential. In addition to presenting attractive investment prospects, the mining industry is vital to the nation's economic growth as it creates jobs and generates income. In West Africa, Burkina Faso is acknowledged as a regional power broker. In the past, during the administration of President Blaise Compaoré, Burkina Faso assisted in mediating political disputes and fostering stability in neighboring nations like Togo and Niger. Burkina Faso is a crucial ally for countries with strategic interests in the Sahel because of its regional significance. Countries aiming to preserve peace and security place a high importance on the capacity to serve as a stabilizing force in a difficult region. The Sahel area, encompassing nations such as Mali, Niger, and Chad, faces several difficulties, including as humanitarian crises, military wars, and terrorism. Burkina Faso's strategic significance is increased by its active participation in regional diplomacy and conflict resolution. Burkina Faso has improved ties with its neighbors in West Africa significantly in recent years. For instance, stronger relations have been formed with Ghana, encouraging bilateral cooperation in a number of fields. Furthermore, a territorial issue with Mali was effectively resolved through mediation, which eased tensions and encouraged harmony between the parties. Countries that value regional cooperation and integration find Burkina Faso's capacity to uphold and strengthen friendly regional ties appealing. In order for West Africa to flourish sustainably, political stability, economic growth, and collective security are all facilitated by stronger regional linkages. Additionally, Burkina Faso actively participates in a number of international organizations, such as the International Criminal Court and the Liptako Gourma Authority. Its membership in these organizations promotes collaboration and interaction with the global community. Burkina Faso can express its concerns, work with other countries on regional and international issues, and draw in investment and development assistance by joining these organizations. Burkina Faso's strong participation in international organizations is of great interest to countries that respect multilateralism and international cooperation. It enhances the nation's credibility and reputation internationally by demonstrating its adherence to international norms and standards. In addition, the international community wants to help Burkina Faso meet its humanitarian needs and advance its economic development. Burkina Faso confronts serious developmental obstacles such as poverty, food insecurity, and poor infrastructure, despite its abundance of natural resources. To assist Burkina Faso in overcoming these obstacles, countries and international organizations offer humanitarian aid, technical support, and development assistance. In addition to raising human well-being, economic development fosters stability and prosperity, both of which are advantageous to foreign investors and partners. So why is it that the West is unable to recognize the advantages Burkina Faso provides? Deeper geopolitical and ideological considerations are the reason why the West is reluctant to recognize Ibrahim Traoré as president and form relations with his administration, despite Burkina Faso's enormous potential for collaborations and growth. International relations and the West's desire for links that primarily serve its interests are at the heart of the matter. Traoré's position on creating mutually advantageous, equitable partnerships caused resistance in the West by challenging this worldview. In the past, Western powers have interacted with emerging nations, particularly those in Africa, through alliances that frequently support Western strategic and economic objectives. Burkina Faso is one of many African nations with abundant natural resources. Historically, Western governments and corporations have sought access to these resources on highly favorable conditions, frequently at the cost of regional economy and communities. Contracts for mining, trade, and investments that put Western profit margins first fall under this category. The preservation of Western political sway over African countries is in the interests of the West. Through this influence, Western geopolitical strategies, such as those pertaining to counterterrorism, maintaining regional security, and favoring Western markets in the economy, are guaranteed to be reflected in African policies. Western nations frequently attach conditions to their development aid, such as requiring policy and economic changes that support their worldview. These requirements may restrict recipient countries' sovereignty and guarantee that aid advances the political and economic objectives of the West. The vision that Ibrahim Traoré had for Burkina Faso is very different from this historical perspective. Traoré aims to build international connections that benefit both parties. This entails striking agreements that allow Burkina Faso to keep a reasonable portion of the money made from its natural resources and receive significant contributions for the country's advancement. Traoré places a strong emphasis on Burkina Faso's independence and sovereignty. This entails lowering reliance on influence and assistance from abroad, supporting domestic businesses, and utilizing Burkina Faso's resources for the country's development. Both Traoré's ideas and speech are vehemently anti-colonial. Instead of letting former colonial powers and other Western countries take advantage of their riches and advantageous locations for their own prosperity, he exhorts African nations to fend off neo-colonial influences and use them to their advantage. This vision is fundamentally at odds with the conventional wisdom of the West. By promoting fair and reciprocal partnerships, Traoré opposes the current situation in which the West gains an excessive amount of advantage from its interactions with African countries. The current arrangements that benefit Western firms are in danger due to Traoré's campaign for fairer resource accords. He confronts the profitability and power that these firms have traditionally enjoyed by demanding fairer conditions for Burkina Faso. The geopolitical dominance that Western countries aim to preserve in the region is undermined by Traoré's emphasis on sovereignty and opposition to Western influence. This includes standing with non-Western nations like Russia, which aggravates worries in the West even further. Traoré questions the economic power that Western countries have used to influence policies in African countries, with his emphasis on self-sufficiency and minimizing reliance on help from the West. Through encouraging local businesses and self-sufficiency, Traoré lessens Burkina Faso's economic dependence on the West. The absence of acceptance and involvement has been a defining feature of the Western reaction to Traoré's leadership and policies. Western countries have been hesitant to interact diplomatically with the Traoré government, expressing their displeasure with his words and policies. The West exerts pressure on Burkina Faso to adopt their favored policies through economic means like sanctions and aid withholding. Traoré is frequently portrayed poorly in Western media and political discourse, which highlights his undemocratic ascent to power and authoritarian inclinations, while downplaying or disregarding his demands for fair partnerships and anti-colonial position. And part of the approach also involves not acknowledging him as a leader. In the grand scheme of international relations and Burkina Faso's destiny, it is of little consequence whether or not the West recognizes Ibrahim Traoré as the country's leader. What counts most is that a lot of countries do acknowledge and support his leadership, particularly those that can assure Burkina Faso of a wealthy future. Numerous nations, especially non-Western and rising powers, have demonstrated a readiness to communicate with Traoré's Burkina Faso. These nations cherish cooperative relationships that uphold Burkina Faso's sovereignty and work to promote real economic and developmental advancement. Countries like China and Russia, as well as a number of African and Asian nations, are prepared to invest in Burkina Faso's mining industry, infrastructure, and other vital areas for its development. In this way, many of our young people today find themselves on the artisanal production sites, in the most agonizing conditions. When we take the field of gold mine as an example, your long-term subject on the employability of young people in rural areas. Maybe something like this occurred in America or Europe in the 1800s. Our youth still encounter this, sometimes to the end of their life, when men go down galleries that they dig themselves in order to get the gold. Burkina Faso benefits greatly from these friendly countries. Their investments have the power to raise living standards, spur economic expansion, and create jobs. Moreover, they are typically eager to transfer technology and expertise, which can boost Burkina Faso's potential for self-reliance and sustainable development. For example, collaborations with nations that have effectively utilized their resources and established strong economies can offer significant insights and assistance to Burkina Faso in its endeavors. Burkina Faso can advance toward more independence and self-determination by broadening its international connections and decreasing its reliance on Western countries. This strategy is in line with Traoré's vision of a Burkina Faso that is equal, independent, and free from neo-colonial pressures, capable of utilizing its resources to further its development. When will the West stop spreading misinformation? Or do you believe that Western propaganda will get stronger? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.